Hey girl, my name is Anel. Welcome to the Brave and Her podcast, where we inspire, empower, and motivate by sharing our stories of bravery. I strongly believe that by sharing our stories, we open ourselves to healing, but also serve to give hope and inspiration to those who are dealing with a tough situation. We will talk about all topics under the sun. Now let's hear your stories of bravery.
Hey girl, thanks for being here for this episode. In this episode, I have two special guests, Jessica and Pat, and we're going to have a conversation about mental health and motherhood. But first, let's introduce yourselves. So who wants to go first?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. My name is Jessica Carrillo, and my profession is a college professor, and I have two children, amazing children. I have my daughter Leah, that's 10 years old, and my son Joaquin, that is 8. And I have been with my loving husband for 24 years, married 18 years.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pat Chamberlin, and I am a mother of two grown girls, a 38-year-old and a 34-year-old. And I always say that my 38-year-old is my favorite because she had my grandkids. No, I love them the same, but I have two grandkids, a 7-year-old girl, Evie, and a 4-year-old boy, Gunner. I've been married to my sweet, darling husband for 42 years. We were college sweethearts, and it's lasted all this time. My profession during most of my adult life has been as a real estate agent here locally, doing residential sales. And I spend a lot of my time in volunteering at the church. I love my role as a mentor mom in the MOPS ministry, and I lead a Bible study. Been doing that for about 20 years now. I love the Lord, didn't always know him, and came to him in a mighty and great way in my early 30s. So I'm relatively half my life without him, and then my better half with him. So I'm looking forward to the chat.
Awesome. And I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter. She will be 14 in November. So we're going to start with mental health and motherhood. What does that mean to you ladies?
Well, I can only go by my experience, and I had children, I guess you would say, at a more seasoned age. I was 34 when I had Leah, and 35 when I had Joaquin. And I will say this, all of my birth planning and all the things that I had in my head of what motherhood would be, what even pregnancy would be, took all the classes, everything, A through Z, was put to the side because the Lord always has something for you. He has the plan, he has the vision. So everything I planned went to the side. Down to even the fact that I was hospitalized the last 3 weeks of my pregnancy with Leah, and I had an emergency C-section because I had placenta previa. So everything that I had in plan, even down to lactating, was just so different. So when you think about that, that does affect your mindset, does affect your mental stability, and just physically, when you're hemorrhaging and you lose so much blood, your hormones are out of whack. So I've considered myself to be a person that is pretty outgoing and positive. But when I had my daughter, I went through some very dark times. And I will say this out loud, I went through postpartum depression. And it was very strong, and it was very sad because that was the daughter, the child I had been waiting for forever. Because just to piggyback a little bit, I was told I couldn't have children by science. And here I am with 2 children now. So I just went through so much. And one of the things that really sticks to me is that most people say, oh, you know what, especially in the Latin culture, like, oh, you can have babies quick, we're so fertile, or you're just gonna know what to do when you're a mother. That didn't happen to me at all. I couldn't even lactate. I had to get a lactation specialist. I didn't even know that existed. Had to go to groups, had to go to therapy, had to do all these things to be able to get into the mindset of loving and wanting to be a mother, wanting to hold my child, wanting to be happy that I was able to be at home, with her. down to the fact that my mom had to come and move in with us because she saw the need, that I needed. So my mental health really suffered at that time. And I believe that our Lord Jesus Christ literally helped me through all of that, put the people that needed to be in my life at that time, showed me about nutrition, showed me about other health and natural things that I could do to get me out of that mindset.
Yeah, I feel like mental health, I was sort of a free proponent of it. I had my kids in the 80s when women were supposed to have it all, do it all, be it all. And I was on that track, having 2 kids and a high-powered career. So definitely the mental health challenges came on hard. How much time I was or wasn't spending with my children. And in my Latin culture, my primary duty should have been parenting, should have been my children. But I had a head of career mindedness in my body, mind and spirit. And at that time, really dug in hard for the career side of my life. And it just suddenly and all of a sudden fell apart. God came and knocked me off my feet. I could no longer function the way I was functioning at 100 miles an hour. And that was really when I came to know the Lord as my Savior and as my protector and provider, and had to find out where my balance was. It was in a very big postpartum depression issue that I went through as well. I had to negotiate what I really wanted out of my life, and really decided at that point that I should find a good therapist, find some good friends, and find a different community than I had in strictly the career side of my life. So I was really out of balance. And that was sort of my impetus, my trigger, was when I fell apart after my second baby. And it was a godsend, but it was hard. It's a hard place to fall, and a shameful place in my life at that point. It looked like I just wasn't able to function anymore. And certainly the world saw it that way. But it was a gift. It's a gift from God.
So while preparing for this episode, I came across this list of 11 hardest things about being a new mom, and you ladies have covered a lot of these, but this one's by the Empowered Mama Project. So like number 1 is it's all unknown territory. I think like Jessica mentioned, it was just unknown. This was a child that she was, wanting for so long. And, when she came, it was kind of like unknown, and like all the, depression and postpartum, side effects that a lot of women suffer. She was going through that. The second one is the absolute exhaustion. I hear a lot of moms being so tired, even dads too, being so tired. Those first, I don't know, like first year or something. I don't think the exhaustion really ends, right? Because there's always there's always something going on, right? But I would say like the biggest exhaustion is like in the beginning, right? Because there's the adjustment and
the deprivation of sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deprivation of sleep is really real.
Right. And just finding time for yourself is something you never had to worry about. And all of a sudden, the baby needs me. I can't take a shower. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that was really interesting to even kind of think about, because, like I said, I was older when I had my children, but I felt like I was 15. I didn't know what was going on, like at all. And then the sleep deprivation is serious. And the not taking a shower for the whole day.
Right.
It's not true.
Yeah, it's like I can get a shower. Yeah.
And also number 3 and number 4, just your other people's expectations and your own expectations of motherhood and how to parent your kids are one of the hardest things about being a new mom. Then number 5 is there's a manual, but it's not for your model. So before starting to record, we were talking about motherhood, and one of the things that I was saying is that I only have one child, but I saw it in me and my sister, where we both have the same mom, the same dad, but turned out totally different. So parenting is not a one size fit all. Like you just have to adjust to parenting your kid the way your kid needs you to parent them.
100%.
Absolutely.
So-
I will just jump in because as a more experienced mom, I'll comment that the biggest change when that happened for me was when my young girls they were very compatible. Then they hit the teen years, and one went completely a different road than the other one. One was very isolating for me because we'd always been real close. All of a sudden, teenager with a closed door, teenager with friends I really didn't understand or like particularly. And the other one was always wanted to be with me and overshare with me. So it was a really difficult time to feel like a connected family at that point. But I realized the one that was isolating was really a little different than me. So I had to really reach deep and to find a way to connect with her because I had never experienced that. And it was never a behavior that I was allowed to have as a young child. To close my door in a Latin home was like, no. So she would tend to go in her room most of the evenings. And it was a hard thing to encourage her to come out and join the family. And I did require it, for dinner and breakfast and activities, but then boom, right back into the bedroom.
Yeah.
So that was a hard time, but I did know that it wasn't to attack me or my parenting or my love for her was never in doubt. She just said she wanted to be alone. That was hard. The other one was more out in the family room with us and inviting friends over. So it was a much easier path because I recognized it, something that was similar to mine. And so the older one was, we were a little disattached for a good couple of years with her wanting that closed door, that privacy, that what I felt was wrong wasn't necessarily wrong. It's just what she preferred.
Right.
Her quiet time, and maybe it was important for her to not hear the constant, activity that was going on in the house. So I had to respect it and learn to respect her as not being bad, but different than my other child and myself.
Right.
So, and my husband later shared that he was that way as a teenager.
Oh.
So it was good that he was able to share that with me, and that helped me understand
Okay.
that.
So was it easier for your husband to understand because
Yeah, he experienced the
he
same.
saw that, right?
He did
in
that.
himself,
Yeah, he did that. He went to a room. He still likes the more isolated kind of social time, just the two of us or just by himself. But so yes, for him to come out and say, no, she's like me. She wants to read a book quiet or connect with just her friends or have some time to herself. And it's not about rejecting you, Mom. It's about her need to become a woman, become the kind of creature that God intended her to be. Not everyone's intended to be a social, butterfly. Some are intended to be deep thinkers and have that be perfectly fine.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
makes me think back about how we all are, part of the body of Christ.
Right.
So everyone has their own
Right.
role, you may say.
Right.
So that's important to them
Yes.
when parenting.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to also go back to the expectations that people have or society has. But I even want to take it down a little more, like the expectation even your husband or spouse has, because they were raised different
Right.
home, even down to how many brothers and sisters you have, conflict, resolving problems,
Yes.
expectations. And so it's so important to have communication with your spouse, with your partner, because that's where you guys can, talk about your experiences. You can also, piggyback off of each other. Like, this is what's working, this is what's not working. It's kind of like what's called pillow talk. So key.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I think it's also important to realize that the community groups that are out there now, we were talking about mental health earlier,
Right.
that you have to take care of yourself to be a good parent and to be open to the differences in your children. So if you're secure and have an outlet, friends, a therapist, a family member, your peers, your tendency will not want to be so enmeshed and so directive of what kind of person your child, your teenager is going to become. You don't know. So be healthy in yourself and be able to ask healthy questions, and instead of directing them toward your path, you want to direct them to their path. But you can only do that when you're secure with what you are and how healthy and whole you feel about yourself. So yeah, again, mental health is a big part of parenting.
The sixth one is your body just feels strange.
100%. Down to your skin. Down to your skin does not feel the same.
Yeah.
And I am, I have a lot of hair. Like I have a lot of hair, long hair and everything. And I actually started losing my hair after my second.
I heard that.
Yeah, I had alopecia, saying it correctly. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it even affected me in that way. I had to go to the dermatologist and get steroid shots on my head.
Ouch. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, down to that, yeah.
Do you think it was due, to the stress of just having a newborn and adjusting to caring for someone?
At that time, I had two babies. I had a 2-year-old and an infant, and so that was the wacky times. But when I think back at them, they're such wonderful times. So also be thankful of what you have, and also the mindset of I'm able to do this, I get to do this, should overpower the I have to.
Yeah.
Because then it goes away. Now my babies are 8 and 10, and that little kitty patootie stage is over.
And also it helps with your mental health too, right? To being grateful for your current stage, what you get to do, as opposed to I have to do.
Correct.
That is such a big one, because at my stage in life, those years are all long gone. Living it and viewing it now through my daughter's eyes as she parents her kids, my grandkids. So I'm able to see that in so much more of a loving, excited way. Whereas before, when you're doing it to your own kids, it's like, gotta get to dinner, gotta get to soccer, gotta get to, and now I'm so enjoying that aspect of grandparenting. You just love them, and it's true. You just enjoy them. There's no timeline or goals, just love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say hang on for the ride, because it just gets to be even better.
Number 7, it says you feel like you're doing everything wrong.
Yes. Because unfortunately sometimes you're even told you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Or you get looks, like if you take your child to a restaurant. For a long time I wouldn't take them because I had 2. I was just like, no, we'll just order here, or just because you do get looks, or people move, and they're just being kids,
Right.
they're talking, they're walking. And I understand there's a certain place for kids and not too. I get that too, but you are told wrong.
Yeah, I think if I could do something differently, I hear now from my grown kids that they felt like I was the captain of their grades. They were afraid that they didn't bring home the good grades. So I think I would learn from that and not put that pressure, rather have it be about the process of learning rather than the process of being graded. So I was pretty tough on them because I had been treated that way as a kid. Sometimes you can't break the cycle, right? But I definitely would recommend, again, having your own issues be separate from what your parenting issues are. It's hard to do, and you do get clarity as you get older, but that's a hard one that I would go back and just say to my kids, I'm sorry, I put that, you have to get an A or else kind of mentality on them. I would choose not to do that.
It all goes back what Jessica said, and what you're talking about right now, Pat. It goes back to the expectations, or the criticism of other parents, and their expectations of what parenthood is. But as we mentioned earlier, parenthood is not a one size fit all. Everyone parents their kids differently. Like how Jessica was saying about the stairs, if you're taking her 2 little kids to the restaurant. Number 8, it says time goes so slow and so fast.
Yeah. That's kind of like an oxymoron.
Yes.
True. It's true. Yeah.
Like when you're, at least for me, because I've been in my stepdaughter's life since she was maybe 9-10 months. And then my husband and I got married when she was 2, going into 3 years old. And I remember oh my gosh, she's so little. I felt like she was going to be little forever. And now it's like, she's a teenager. Like it went by so fast, but yet kind of slow. Like when you're going through that season, it's like, oh, so slow, you know, like I can't wait for her to get older and like be more independent. And now that she's older, I'm like, oh no, I wish she was little again, you know?
Very true. You get all these like memory photos from like Facebook or your even your phone now gives you like little memories of pictures, and I look at them like, wow. Like I was pretty much a stay-at-home mom at that time during the time that my kids were young, and I sometimes feel like I still miss some things. Don't even know how to put that two and two together, but I do. Or it just went too fast.
Yeah, I could say now, looking at my grandkids, I see it in stop motion now. I think, I remember when I had, my daughter at that age, but it was such a stressful time too, right? Watching it through the eyes of a grandmother, now I'm seeing that, oh, these are precious times. So I would recommend for a new mom to just really breathe and watch your kid kick a soccer ball, watch your kid, as they're doing the silly things that they do, the artwork they show you, spend the time and just live it.
Because they won't be that age
Right.
forever.
They will hide their stuff from you soon enough, right?
Right.
You have to ask them, show me your artwork. But right now, the grandkids are like, look. So it's just precious.
Yeah. Number 9, you're a new kind of you. Things change, right? Your body changes. I mean, mine didn't, because I didn't birth mine, but just things change, right? Priorities change.
Yeah, my husband and I had about 7 years before we had Leah, and just the whole concept of being able to pick up and go was not there anymore. And then, something that also some men go through is they go through a little bit of postpartum, because they kind of now share you. And it's not in a egotistical way, but in their mind, they're like, this is my wife, or this is, my husband. And they're like, now I'm sharing you with other little human beings.
And that's actually the next one. Number 10 says you'll miss your husband, even though he's like sleeping next to you, you'll miss your husband. Because that relationship will never be the same.
Right.
It doesn't, and that's when you hear that whole concept of it takes a community to raise a child, and it does, because then you need to go back to being boyfriend and girlfriend and courting with your husband, and have those date nights or those even little staycations if you can, depending on your community. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I remember after having my children having issues with body image for me. I'd always been very athletic and very active. And so to have a different body was hard, because I couldn't get away from my kids to go to the gym. I couldn't go running in the middle of the night like I once could. So yeah, that's an adjustment. And it weighed on me, my mental health, definitely, because I was a little resentful. And the depression had hit. So it's like all of this was because I had to have these kids. So it was definitely a trigger for me, for my mental health.
All these kids.
Yeah, just kids. But these kids did it to me. So being a positive, like Jess said, look at it from the perspective of what you have. I have 2 beautiful, healthy children. And so you have a little pooch on me for, after my years of childbearing, there's no comparison, the love and the satisfaction and the gift that they are.
And the miracle that your body did, created a human being.
Right. Why should it ever be that way? You're not intended to have, a 20-year-old body when you're 30s and 40s. It's just not realistic.
Right.
So yeah, I think I went kind of through that grieving of, I'm not going to be a thin bikini model. Oh, no. But yeah, it took some getting used to, and some crying out to God, like, what is it you want me to do then, God? And I think his answer was just be who you are. Right. And love yourself and love these kids. Yeah. And more important than what I was looking or thought I had to look like. Right.
Right. The last one is you cannot ever switch off. Once you have a kid, you're always a mom. Doesn't matter what age they are, right?
Right.
Newborn or adult, an adult child. like that they're still your kid.
That's 100%.
Absolutely.
Because I've needed my mom in different times in my life, but I feel when I became a mother, I needed her like 100%. And I'm very thankful to God that, that she was able to be there for me. I really, really praise her for that.
What is one lie that you ladies have believed
About
about motherhood?
For me, I think it strongly is that motherhood comes naturally. And I will say this, it didn't for me. It didn't come naturally. And then, I put my teacher hat on and I said, well, when I want to learn about something, I go to what? Conferences, listen to podcasts. I read books. I do all kinds of things. So that's what I started doing, and then also God led me to MOPS, and now I'm in MomsNext, which is an amazing group. It's an international group, and it's a beautiful community of women that just help you so much. And the topics there are so empowering. And then that it has God based. So I love that.
Yeah, I think my lie that I would have believed at the time was that women could have and could do it all, because it was the time of, wasn't that far off of the women's activism movement and women's livers and women, who were, fighting for equal rights and achieving it. It was, the pendulum had gone to the far side. It needed to come back to the middle, where you can't have it all, but you can have maybe a little of both.
Right.
Or you can choose to just be a career pursuing woman, or just be a mom who's happy at home.
Yeah.
Not even with children, just being a homemaker would be enough, right?
Right.
But that's the lie I think that I struggled with, is that you can have it both. You can have it always, but you can't. And God straightened me out real quick when I was trying to throw all balls in the air. He said, nope, grab the ones I have for you by design and be good at that. And so I did have a balance. I worked and was a mom, but mostly a mom when the kids were little. So it was a real gift that I received when I came to know the Lord in that way.
That's a good one. For me, it's just lies that like I'm not a good mom because I don't parent my kid the same way. Let's say you, Pat, or you, Jessica, like I parent my kid differently. But like I just have to keep reminding myself that I'm parenting my kid the way, she needs it, right? I'm not going to parent my kid the way Jessica does her kids, right? Or how Pat, parent her kids. I think that's just the lie that I mostly, and the comparison. Well, basically that's what I just said, right? The comparison, comparing myself to others.
You never win because you don't know really what's in their heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And a big comparison, especially now that we have social media, and we just have to always remember that it's like an iceberg. Only the little tip is showing, everything else is not. So we definitely don't want to compare ourselves. Every child is different, every home is different, every marriage is different, and that's okay. And like we've also been talking about, everything has a season too.
Yeah.
I love that analogy, the iceberg.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on under what you can see, the waterline, and then
Right.
boom.
100%.
Or you see one perfect picture, one perfect family picture, but then you don't see all the struggle that went behind it to try to get that one picture. The kids screaming and the running and like the not behaving or whatever. And like 1 second it was just perfect, right? But then the rest of the time it's not. Which is normal, because we're all humans, right?
Correct.
So what is one thing that helped overcome the lies or just motherhood, the struggling or the struggle that that you've gone through as mothers?
I think for me, it's been being more vulnerable than I was able to be before I knew the Lord, because I felt the judgment. I wanted to look a certain way. And so letting all of that go and letting my true self be seen by, sometimes people that judge me, but I was kind of done with it. So yeah, I would say being your authentic self. And the way I did it personally was by giving my life completely over to the Lord, because with His design for my life, I had such freedom, such freedom and relief and peace, and knowing there's a purpose and a plan for my life, much greater than I could have thought or ever dreamed. So yeah, that gave me huge relief, and the lie that I believed that I could have it all wasn't even part of my go-to anymore. It was like, okay, God, what does it say in your word?
Yeah.
You know, I am who I am. I'm a child of God, complete.
He knew you from the womb.
And knew me and knew that I would run too fast, stumble, then get up with him.
Yeah. And what your purpose is.
Right.
Wow. What about you, Jessica?
What was the question again?
What helped you overcome the lies or just, the struggles of motherhood?
You know what, just definitely having God in my life. Having God in my life, He helped to put the people, the community, what books to read, what personal development should I be doing, how to treat my husband, how to be a wife, how to be a daughter, how to be a friend. You know, there's instruction for all of that in the Bible. You know, and so He directed me. You know, I have to say that MOPS helped me so much. And that community of women I will be forever grateful for. And that's why I promote it, and that's why I'm talking about it right now. If you need a community, I would go and get that community, sign up. It's international. Go ahead and do it, because it taught me a lot, and it continues on teaching me a lot, and it continues on inviting me and meeting new amazing women from there. So I would say, you know, when God is in control, that helps.
Yeah. I would say moms too. Just finding like a group of women or a group of moms, you get to chat, like how we're talking right now, but you get to chat and you get to see how, the struggles that you're going through, you're not alone. Someone else is going through similar, or even if they're different, you know that everyone struggles. And that's the one thing that I like about our table and, our moms is, the sharing of our journey, because it's not it's not a one size fits all, right? But, we get to learn from each other. We get to share our journeys and just help each other, support each other.
Yeah, and for women, it's never a one and done. You might be fine or think things are fine today, and God bless you if it is, but then there's always tomorrow, which will bring another transition, another challenge, another health crisis, another marital dysfunction, another child needing you. It's always something.
What advice do you, or can you give a mom that has littles or not so little, maybe teen kids that are struggling? I would say find a community.
Definitely.
That. And don't be afraid to share the struggle.
Yeah.
There's somebody else whose kid is doing what your kid is doing. Your kid didn't invent disrespect or didn't invent isolating. So when you bring it out,
especially teenagers.
Yes. It's more true than not true that there's going to be some desires on them for natural rebellion against who you, and your authority has been overtaking their lives. All of a sudden they don't. And so you're going to have to navigate that. If we do it in a group, my goodness, there's so much relief there.
Right.
Yes. And I would also say not to put so much pressure on you with those type of sayings like, oh, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree type of thing, because every child is different. You do your best. Every parent does their best. They don't want to mess up their kid. They're just doing their best in what tools they have, and so don't beat yourself on that. Your child is going to mess up. You're going to mess up. We are imperfect.
Yeah. And so lastly, to finish up, what is one word, Bible verse, song, poem, something that keeps you, keeps you going when you don't feel, your best as a mother, as a woman?
I love the song by Carrie Underwood, which says, Jesus, take the wheel. I love that song because I have, I might be saying all these positive and wonderful things right now, but I have breakdowns too, you know. But one thing that I have learned is not to stay in the breakdown for long. You know, give it just a one little time in your day. Like, don't let it overcome the whole thing. But I love that song. It's just really empowering. It's just so beautiful. And she sings great.
Yeah, I love Carrillo. And she's a Christian too.
Yeah,
She is. I think for me, it's just remembering what God did for me. He came, died for me. He taught me by his own will to go through struggles, that I'm going to have struggles too.
Yeah.
So I'd say if it was one word, I would say that a phrase, I guess, that there's hope in the struggle. Never give
Yeah,
up. There's
I love
always,
that.
there's always a way to see God's light in the darkness.
I love that. The song that right now just keeps me going is God is in This Story by Katie Nicole and Big Daddy Pete. And I like the part where it says, when I'm at my weakest, I will trust in Jesus. So whenever, you know, you feel not your best, either in motherhood or womanhood or, you know, just whenever, like when you just feel at your weakest because you're going through some kind of struggle, just trust in Jesus.
Amen.
And with that, we'll end it here, and I will talk to you ladies in the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode inspired you. If you like this podcast, please share on social media and tag me on Instagram @TheBraveandHer. I would love to hear your stories of bravery.